In September, we're out in Rocky Mountains. That was my first ever writing retreat. They talked about on the first day how creativity flows from relationship, how the first thing that we learn of God in the Bible is that he's creative, God created. The next thing we learn about him is that there's a plurality, that he lives in relationship with one another. And the first thing we learn about ourselves is that we're made in that image.
When they told us to do that exercise before we went in that session where we wrote together, I couldn't just help but look, especially down. And especially throughout last year, I had shared with you guys even too when we broke down what we got when we were looking at the scenery, and just even personal obstacles and things that I had gone through in the beginning of last year. And I felt like it was just kind of like a representation of wow, I've already overcome these obstacles by being up here. And so it was just a beautiful way I felt closer to the Lord there than I had just, being back at home. And I just felt so near. I felt his presence so near just by looking at everything. I felt him whisper, these obstacles, you've already overcome the mountains, the wilderness, through all of that. This is where, it's kind of like I had to get away from everything just for him to tell me that, you know? For all the distractions that I've had and the things that I are going through, I think even if we never even wrote a song in that retreat, I think that moment alone was just worth it.
Yeah, well, I just remember I kind of decided to walk out into the woods. It felt like it was all the trees. I mean, they were just right there. And I remember as I was walking out, it felt like I was going into a wilderness, into a forest. And so I just kind of sat in the middle of all of it. And okay, I kind of am in this wilderness right now, but I am amazed at the beauty around me. And I think that's where, so I had just kind of been writing everything down and just all my thoughts in that moment. And right before we regrouped, the last kind of line that I wrote was, "There's wonder in the wilderness." I love that the song brings in that the realness of life, the wilderness and the hardship, but also wow, he's pursuing, he's restoring, this is what he promises, and that's our God. And it just blows my mind every time thinking about it.
I distinctly remember how both of your experiences came into the song. For me, I guess I wasn't as adventurous. I just went to the porch, looking out over that mountainside, and all of a sudden that huge gust of wind happened. Do you guys remember this? And it picked up at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of aspen leaves into the sky. And I've never sat down with the intention of writing a poem before. And as I stood there just staring at these golden leaves, some green still in there, just the thought of that wind that comes through and you can hear it in the dry, dead leaves. You can hear the winds of change coming, and it's gonna take those leaves off the trees and finish the killing process of the leaves. That's the same wind though that brings the rain that comes, that nurtures the soil and puts moisture into the soil. It was just that thought of sometimes we don't see what God is doing in the long season of waiting, in the long season of growth. And sometimes even that pruning and that death of those leaves, we mourn that instead of realizing that actually it's making way for God to do a new thing. So sit down with you then after that to come up with this, to bring all these experiences together. And then in about an hour and a half's time, we have, though the wilderness is vast, we have, teach me your ways, oh Lord, and in the wonder. We have those three parts of the songs nailed down.
I was listening to the voice memos even on the way here, and it flowed so, we still had, of course, moments of brainstorming and stuff, but how it flowed, then you offered something, then you offered something, then I threw something in there, and we just threw everything in the pot and and it became what it did. And so
I remember just coming away from the retreat and feeling there was something in that. We started playing it at our prayer nights, and we started to see people connect to it in similar ways the way that everybody's talked about their story. And then we initiated a project called Prayer Songs, and the song has actually become a mantra for our church. And I really look forward to where you guys get to see the way that it's impacting our church, and our hope is that it impacts the congregations you serve. And and many other people, that people find hope while they're waiting for whatever to come to fruition, or they're waiting for God to heal something, or they're waiting for God to move. Sometimes we want that end goal and we forget that God, He is working in this time.
I don't know, it was just, I think it was just so special to come together and have such kind of different experiences. We're even in different places, you know, and just the sweetness of getting to like share each experience. And I feel like we were each kind of represented in this song in some way, which was like powerful too.
Well, that's what's awesome about the Lord and the way that He works, and music that is meant to connect us with Him or exalt His name, is that He did something, He revealed something to each one of us. All we had to do was share that experience.